J.J. Watt. Pass is caught. Diggs! Side the hole! He broke his ankles. Lightning strike from McCaffrey.
We're having fun. We get to have fun here. This is what it's all about.
The NFC North in 2026 is about to be a bloodbath, an absolute bloodbath. Welcome in to the Swank Tank. Welcome into episode 53 here on the show. It is indeed Thursday morning, May 21st. I appreciate you being here so much. If you are not already, make sure you're going following at the Swank Tank on all of our socials, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Make sure you follow and subscribe on Spotify. Appreciate you guys so much for being here. I mean, we are in the thick and in the middle of the dead period of the true offseason, heading into the 2026 NFL season. So what we're going to start doing, divisional breakdowns. We're going to start here with the NFC North. We got the Bears, the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions. A lot to break down. We're going to break down every single offseason for these teams, their big draft picks, their big additions, their key losses, some big games they have on the horizon in 2026 that may be really hard to win, some questions surrounding their teams, and then I'll give them their ceiling and their floor as well. I'll also give you my final ranking, as I believe they will fall 4-1 in their division for the upcoming season. Welcome into the show. Yeah, we're in the middle of the offseason, like we just talked about, but man, we're still rolling out content every single day at the Swank Tank. Make sure you're followed in. Make sure you're tapped in. A lot of great content continuing to come your way this offseason, moving into August, September, and of course onward throughout the season. Cannot wait. I saw a stiff arm clip from Derrick Henry back several years ago against the, I believe, Tennessee Titans, or was it the Jags? Maybe I'm mixing the two up. Whatever run it was, it got me hyped up. One of those classic Derrick Henry 95, 99-yard touchdown runs. He's at, I think, 2 or 3 of 90+, pretty close to it in his career. It got me hyped up. We're always hyped up here at the Swank Tank. NFL only, 24/7, 365. Off-season episodes every Thursday morning, and then we got regular season episodes coming just here in a few months every Monday morning and Thursday morning as well. Appreciate you so much. All right, without further ado, let's dive into and fully break down and preview the 2026 NFC North. Let's do it. We are going to start with the team I believe will finish last in the NFC North. So we're going to go 4, 3, 2, and then 1. We're also going to wrap up the show with a fun little game, so stay tuned for that at the end of the episode. We're going to start with team number 4. The team I believe will finish last in the NFC North in 2026. It is the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings will finish in last to me in their division in the brutal NFC North for the 26-27 season. Let's break it down. Let's get into this. So, Vikings at 4. Head coach, obviously Kevin O'Connell. OC Wes Phillips, even though it's Kevin O'Connell really calling the plays. Defensive coordinator, Brian Flores. We'll stop right there already. You look at the Vikings coaching staff, specifically DC head coach / OC. You got O'Connell, who's a top 10 coach in this league easily. You got Brian Flores, who's he definitely is a top 10 DC in this league. And yet I have him at 4th. Let's keep diving into it. Just keep it in mind. Let's start with some key offseason additions here. Not many. When you look across the board, when you look across the league, a lot of teams made a lot of different moves in the draft, in free agency themselves, etc. The Vikings didn't do much to me. Offseason additions for the Vikings. Kyler Murray. They just signed Juwan Jennings about a little over a week ago. Eric Wilson at linebacker, and James Pierre at corner. Are those additions game changers? Maybe you're out there listening, watching, thinking that Kyler Murray is a game changer. Let me ask you this. Do you think Kyler Murray should start week 1 for the Minnesota Vikings? What are your thoughts on that? Me personally, I go back and forth on it a little bit. I think I would have to say no. If you start Kyler Murray week 1, in year 2 of the J.J. McCarthy experience, what does that tell you? Year 3, I should really say. He didn't play his rookie year. Year 3. What does that tell you about him? What does that tell you about the organization, how they feel, how they believe in J.J. McCarthy if he doesn't start week 1? Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of graphics all over the place about look at the new Vikings offense. Look at the new look Vikings with Kyler Murray as the starter. If Kyler Murray starts week 1, the Vikings are in a tough spot for the future. That's a given because your franchise guy, first week of year 3, is no longer your starter. If I'm Minnesota, I start McCarthy. No matter what, right? Obviously excluding injuries. No matter what, you start McCarthy. You start 9, right? Some people probably feel otherwise. That's what I think here, because if you don't start JJ, you then run into problems down the road. If Kyler doesn't pan out, then what? You're not playing your, quote, franchise guy. Maybe you'll put him in. What's his confidence going to be like? But if you're not already starting him, you're going with Kyler, the guy you just brought in, over your, quote, franchise guy, you're going to have issues, right? You're going to have issues if Kyler doesn't work. So I believe J.J. McCarthy should be the starter week 1. I think a lot of people believe that, but I'm seeing too much Kyler hype. Did I miss something? Is Kyler a talented player? Yes. Yes, he is. He's got the mobility. You know, he's had some really strong seasons in this league. He's had a lot of injuries as well. He's been on a really, all things considered, bad franchise. I would like to use a different word there. I'll just use bad. A few strong years, but overall, his career has not really panned out as well as he would have liked to believe, and Cardinals fans around the league and OU fans, I'm sure. All that being said, McCarthy should start. Kyler Murray, a big offseason addition. Juwan Jennings, Eric Wilson, James Pierre, like we already talked about. Just touched on Kyler. Let's touch on Juwan Jennings. How much of an impact do you think Juwan Jennings will have on this team? I believe he had 9 touchdowns last season for the San Francisco 49ers. He's also had injury concerns. The thing is, they don't need him to be, just like in San Francisco, he really wasn't. They don't need him to be a wide receiver 1. They don't need him to be a wide receiver 2. They need him to be a reliable wide receiver 3, which he can be, and more, when he's healthy and when he's on the field. When will that be? Right? How many games will we see Juwan Jennings out there in a healthy fashion for the Minnesota Vikings? There are other moves I like. Wilson, James Pierre, they're solid, right? Encapsulating this Vikings offense, I think it's going to be McCarthy starting. The running back room, to me, one of the worst in the NFL. Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason. That is a bottom 10 running back duo, easily. The wide receiver room is great. Hawkinson, if he can stay healthy, is a top 10 tight end. It's a lot of can they, right? Can they stay healthy? Can McCarthy solidify his spot? Can they? Offensively, that's why I have the Vikings at 4 in their division, coming in last. Alongside that, the running back room, I don't believe in whatsoever. So, talented, yes. It's more of a can they, rather than I believe, or yeah, they will. That's their offense. And their key additions. Key losses this offseason for the Minnesota Vikings. Jonathan Grenard got traded during the draft to the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Jalen Naylor. You got Harrison Smith. You got Javon Hargrave. And you got Jonathan Allen. Some big defensive pieces. Smith, Hargrave, Allen. Some big body guys. Some Minnesota Viking burly guys. Gone. Adios. Those are their key offseason losses. And so the big one probably being Grenard. Obviously, they were willing to ship him off for a decent haul to the Eagles. Pretty good there. But key losses to keep in mind as well for the Vikings. So, as you can see, they lost some key defensive pieces. Did they backfill? In their additions themselves via free agency, not really. Let's get into their key draft picks. Defensive lineman Caleb Banks from Florida, Jake Golday, linebacker. Then you got Dominique Orange, who I really liked coming out of, I believe it was Iowa State. Defensive lineman, big body defensive lineman there. Offensive tackle Caleb Tiernan from Northwestern, I believe. And then safety Jacoby Thomas. So their draft, decent. Their offseason moves, I don't love. There's just not a lot there. They lost a decent amount in their losses, off-season losses, all-encompassing. That's kind of the turnover of the Vikings. Not a lot either way. But this team finished third in the division last year. Same record as the Lions, but third in the division. Did they do enough to take a step forward, to take a step up? What is your confidence level in the Minnesota Vikings heading into 2026? As you can tell by me here on the show, it's not very high. It's not very high. Hardest non-division games for the Minnesota Vikings in 2026. They have the Bills in Minnesota, they have the 49ers in Minnesota, and then they go at New England. Their schedule is not super difficult. It's not very difficult. This division ends up playing the AFC East, which is obviously a very easy division, all things considered, with the Jets, Dolphins, Patriots, and Bills. Like, the Patriots will probably regress a little bit, as you might have heard or watched in my power rankings 2 weeks ago. The Patriots will regress a bit in my eyes. So really it's just the Bills to take over and dominate that division, retake the division title back from New England. So they have a favorable schedule in terms of playing the AFC East. That's nice. The Vikings also all around don't have too many challenging games that are non-division and non-AFC East. Bills, 49ers, Patriots. I mean, the Bills is a very tough game, right, of the East. They play the Niners. And then at New England, just because it's mainly on the road, Super Bowl runner-ups, still a challenging game. Not impossible, still a tough game. Let's get into my questions now for this team. So my questions that still loom over the Vikings heading into 2026 that will really surround their season, right, and define them. Number one, off the bat, of course, who is QB1? Who is QB1? Who wins the job? You already know my opinion on it. I just gave it to you for about 5 minutes. McCarthy needs to be the starter. Even if he shouldn't be, air quotes, he needs to be the starter for the Minnesota Vikings. But who is the true QB1? You tell me. We don't know yet. Are we liking the Vikings running back room with Jones, Mason, and Xavier Scott? I can answer that. No. But I'm asking you, do you like it? Is it strong enough? It's not. It's not strong enough. Question number 3. Is the secondary strong enough with Metellus/Thomas starting? Decent secondary. They needed to backfill a little bit more. They assessed it a little bit in the draft. Is it strong enough? Is it strong enough? Those are my questions for the Vikings heading into 2026. I don't believe they've done enough to improve, especially given how tough the NFC North is. It is a freaking gauntlet. It's the best division in football. You could tell me it's the NFC West. You could make an argument for the AFC West. The NFC North, to me, is the best division in football, all around, with obviously the NFC West being very, very, very close to that, if not past it. They're very close. This division is so damn tough, so damn competitive. The worst team last year, the Lions came in 4th last year in this division with a 9-8 record. Last place, 9-8 record. All right, let's get into my ceiling. Let's get into my floor for Minnesota in 2026. My ceiling for Minnesota in 2026 is 10-7. Even with a favorable schedule, last year they went 9-8. This year my ceiling for them is 10-7. Right? Could they go 11-6? Maybe. I had 11-6 and I got rid of that. 10-7 seems very realistic for me on if they were to very much succeed, how well they could do. 10-7 probably gets them in the playoffs. Does not win them a division, but it gets them in the playoffs. This division is just so damn hard. And I think Vikings fans would definitely tell you that. Their floor, 7-10. So not a deep floor, but not a very high ceiling as well. The Vikings will be between 7-10, 10-7. That's my floor for them. That's my ceiling. I have the Vikings finishing in 4th in the NFC North in 2026. We'll see how that ages. But I think the questions are very valid in the rollover from last year and the changes they've made. It's not enough to fully compete at a high level in the North. Vikings come in at 4. Coming in at number 3. So the team I have finishing 3rd in the NFC North in 2026. It is indeed, dramatic pause, the Green Bay Packers. This is such a tough division to predict given how competitive it is. I have the Packers finishing 3rd in the North in 2026. Head coach Matt LaFleur, OC Adam Stenovich, defensive coordinator, new addition, Jonathan Gannon, which I actually like. I like that move a lot. Experienced. Obviously, was the Cardinals' old head coach. Didn't work out. Like him going over there to be DC in Green Bay. Key offseason additions for the Green Bay Packers. Linebacker Zaire Franklin, huge one. There from the Colts. Javon Hargrave, I just mentioned, actually leaving from Minnesota. Then you got cornerback Benjamin St. Juste, and then you got Sky Moore as well. Key offseason losses for the Green Bay Packers. Quite a few. Edge Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, Romeo Doubs, Dontavion Wicks, Rasheed Walker, and Elton Jenkins. Some big names coming out of Green Bay, leaving the Green Bay Packers. Did they backfill well enough? Their additions, Franklin, Hargrave, St. Juste, Sky Moore. I'll read you their offseason losses one more time. These are some big-time names, especially if you're a Packers fan. Obviously, you very much know the impact a lot of these guys have had over the past few years. Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, Romeo Doubs, Mr. Guardian Cap, Dontavion Wicks, Rasheed Walker, and Elton Jenkins. Those are some big names. Those are not some third string, maybe they'll see the field every now and then guys. These are some quality starters that the Green Bay Packers have lost heading into 2026. Dobbs in New England, sneaky addition there. People are not talking about enough. Obviously, no more digs over there. Dobbs is probably the wide receiver one for the moment over there in New England. Let's see if they land A.J. Brown. Sneaky move there by New England that I like a lot. Key draft picks for the Packers. Okay, so they did not obviously have a first-round pick, obviously in acquiring Micah Parsons a year and a half ago. Key draft picks for the Green Bay Packers in 2026. Cornerback Brandon Cease, defensive tackle Chris McClellan, edge Dennis Sutton, O-lineman Jaeger Burton, and then Domani Jackson corner. So not a franchise-altering draft by any means. We knew it wouldn't be, given their draft capital. Not a huge draft for Green Bay. So their additions, nothing crazy really at all for the Green Bay additions. Outside of Franklin and Hargrave, their losses, pretty big, pretty impactful, that's for sure, over there in Green Bay. And their draft, nothing crazy as well. If you can see in my tone, you can hear my tone, I'm not huge on Green Bay with what they've done this offseason in terms of NFC competition, in terms of just the North competition. I don't know how much they improved. Did they improve? I don't really know. I don't know. Obviously, runner-up in the division last year, still have not an absurdly hard schedule, but it's not easy by any means, especially when you got to play the North for 6 of their games. This team didn't really do much. They didn't have a lot of capital. They didn't have a lot of money. Those are your excuses, right? You could give to them. Okay, that correlates with you didn't really do much. And you lost last year in the first round at Chicago, choked a big old lead. This offseason, you expect them to make some more big-time moves. They really couldn't, and they didn't. So Green Bay, to me, right now, sits at third. And this will probably not change at all before the season starts. Why would it, given everything we have to go over? Hardest non-division games for the Green Bay Packers in 2026. They are at the Rams this year. Packers go to LA to play the Rams in 2026. They have the Texans at home, I believe in January, if I'm not mistaken, so that'll be a cold game. Texans defense still very vicious. And then they have the Bills at Lambeau Field as well. Bills, Texans, Rams on the schedule outside of the North. Tough. Definitely challenging for Green Bay. Overall, here are my questions for the Packers for the 2026 season, during their offseason and into the season. Number one, and we just touched on this, did the Green Bay Packers improve? I don't think so. Given their additions, not too many, Zaire Franklin being the leader of that pack, their key losses, Quay Walker being one of the big ones that they lost, Rashawn Gary, of course, Wicks, Dobbs, others. They lost some key pieces. Their draft class didn't have a first-round pick. They go corner in second round, which I think was very, very beneficial for them. Other more role player guys, probably to start. So the draft wasn't anything crazy, uber impactful as well. Did this team improve? They get Tucker Kraft back off several injuries, I should say, from last season. So they'll get Kraft back, which is huge. That's big. That's major. That has to be noted. But in terms purely of their additions, losses, draft class, personnel overhaul, coaching changes, etc., did the Green Bay Packers improve? Not really. Not really. Not here at the Swank Tank. Not in my eyes. Question number 2. Is the offensive line sturdy enough? Enough. They have good pieces over there in Green Bay. They have had several solid offensive linemen over there for years and years and years. But you lose Rasheed Walker, you lose Elton Jenkins. So there's obviously got to be some backfill there. That's a question also for Green Bay heading into the season. Number 3. Cam Archard is the new special teams coordinator. How will he do in year 1? Rich Bisaccia is finally gone. Green Bay Packers, you can exhale. You can relieve a little bit of your stress you've had for several years with him being your your special teams coordinator. He did a horrific job last season. That was noted in the playoff games, in several games throughout the season. It was time for Bisaccia to get out of Green Bay. He's now, there's a thumbs up if you're watching every week. You'll see it on YouTube. Bisaccia's finally gone. Now you bring in Cam Accord, right, to be your special teams coordinator. How will he do? How will he perform in year 1 with the Green Bay Packers? So those are my questions for Green Bay. Still circling, and that will remain to circle heading into their season. The ceiling for Green Bay this year, I have at 11-6. So I have them finishing 3rd in the division. I have their ceiling at 11-6. I have their floor at 8-9. I do not see them by any means being worse than 8-9. But their ceiling is only 11-6 to me. They'll fall somewhere between that range. Green Bay comes in at 3rd in my NFC North rankings in my preview predictions analysis for the North heading into 26. Green Bay at number 3. We move forward. All right, coming in at number 2. So the team I believe will finish 2nd in the NFC North in the 26-27 season. You ready for this one? I have the Chicago Bears finishing 2nd in the NFC North in 2026/27. Head coach Ben Johnson, OC Press Taylor, defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. If you're upset by this, I understand it. They just won the division last year. Let's dive into it first before you come at me, before you start yelling at me, before you start accusing me of anything. Let's dive into the Bears, why I think they're going to finish 2nd in their division this year. Key offseason additions, decent amount of them. Safety, Kobe Bryant, obviously coming over from Seattle. Devin Bush. Center, Garrett Bradbury from New England. Defensive tackle, Neville Gallimore. Pretty good. Offseason losses. There's a lot of them here. I think the Bears probably had the hardest offseason losses of any team in the NFC North. The most impactful losses of any team in the NFC North. You trade away DJ Moore. You got great value for him, do not get me wrong. But you trade away DJ Moore. Your true wide receiver 1 last year. You could argue it was Rome Odunze. He was very hot and cold. DJ Moore was your wide receiver 1 last year, whether you want to say that or not. Tremaine Edmonds goes over to join the New York Giants. Kevin Byard, gone. Shaquan Brisker, gone. Drew Dahlman, retired. Key starters, every single person I just named, all 5 of them, were key starters for the Chicago Bears last year. Moore, Edmonds, Byard, Brisker, Dahlman. All 5 of them gone heading into 2026. Key offseason losses. Definitely the biggest ones of the North, now that I even say it out loud. Big time in Chicago. Big time losses that you don't want to see. That's definitely going to hurt them. Let's talk about their draft picks. They had some good ones. How would you rate the Bears draft class? Dylan Tiedemann was obviously the big one coming over from Oregon. Then you got Logan Jones, center. You got Sam Roosh. You got Xavier Thomas. You got Malik Muhammad. That's like the main core of their draft class, really, overall. I like the Manny Muhammad pick, by the way. I believe the 4th round of the draft. That's a good one. So you reload a little bit in the secondary. You lose Brisker, you lose Byard. You backfill in the 1st round with DT, and then you also go get Manny Muhammad. I like that. But what about pass rush? What about pass rush? What about wide receiver? Yes, Xavier Thomas. Will he be an instant impact? Right? So you're very much pushing in all your chips on Rome Odunze to be your bona fide, certified wide receiver 1. Can he be that guy? We saw a lot of flashes of it last year. But DJ Moore was there. The veteran DJ Moore was there to help out. He's no longer there. Can Rome step up and be that guy in 2026? So the Bears draft class, I don't love. I think I like their corner or their secondary pieces that they brought in, refurbished the O-line a little bit. I like that. Their additions, I do like their additions as well. But they lost a lot of talent, a lot of starting talent, which is hard to duplicate, hard to backfill instantly, right? Especially because they're starters, especially because several of those guys have been there for a decent amount of time. Really, all of them for a few years, really, outside of Dahlman. But the other ones, been there for a while. So they needed the backfill. They did a decent job, but it's just hard to when you look at their losses. Hardest non-division games for the Bears heading into 2026. They play the Eagles in Chicago. They go to Seattle, and they go to Buffalo. The Bears have a very hard schedule when you look at it, all things considered. So the Bears' 2026 schedule, it's tough all around. You're already playing in the NFC North. Outside of their division, you have to go to Seattle, you have to go to Buffalo, and then the Eagles go to Chicago. Those could easily all three be losses. They could be wins, but they could easily, if not more, be losses. Absolutely. Outside of playing 6 games in the NFC North, right? Tough schedule this year for the Chicago Bears. Part of the reason as well, I have them finishing second in the division. Question for you. Very similar question to what I asked you about Green Bay. Did the Bears improve? Yes or no? Did the Chicago Bears improve? Because their offseason additions that we keep bringing back up because of how important they are will be very impactful, very dramatic for them heading into this season. Do I like their draft picks? I do. I don't love them. I like them. Do I like their offseason additions? I do. Does that mean they improved? Not necessarily. I really want you to think about that question. Did the Bears improve? Yes or no? Not a maybe, not if the he pans out, not a if Rome can be the true wide receiver 1 and we have full confidence in him. No. It's a yes or no. Did they improve? I want you to answer that because that's why we're doing this whole episode about the NFC North. That's question number 1 for you. Very similar to Green Bay. Number 2, is the pass rush strong enough? Outside of Montez Sweat, is the pass rush strong enough? It was supposed to be a main emphasis for them. Come the draft, they didn't really assess it. A lot of people thought Zion Young was going to go there. He did not, of course. They went a different direction, obviously getting DT out of Oregon to play safety. So is the pass rush strong enough? Very much a concern for me. Could they be movers at the trade deadline to bring in a pass rush? More of a pass rush, I should say. Absolutely, they could be. Absolutely, they could be. Question number 3. Can Luther Burden be the bona fide wide receiver 2? What do you think about that? That's my last question for you, for the Chicago Bears. Can Luther Burden be your bona fide wide receiver 2? Last year, that guy was Rome Odunze. This year, it's got to be Luther Burden. Very much a downfield threat, very much a vertical threat. He's got a lot of speed. He's got a lot of talent. Very, very twitchy, athletic, great agility. Can he be your trustworthy wide receiver 2? I think there's definitely a good chance he could be. Definitely a good chance he could be. Did some great things in his rookie year. Had a lot of help around him. You lose a guy like DJ Moore, not only from him as a player, but as a veteran presence as well. Can Burden be trusted in that role? Can Rome be trusted as a wide receiver 1? Luckily, they have help in the tight end room again with Loveland and Kmet. That's always great. The running back room's got Monungai and Swift. That's great as well. You have a top dare I say 10, quarterback and Caleb Williams. You got Ben Johnson calling your plays, right? This Bears offense in 2026 will still be very dynamic. It will be very, very strong. The O-line should still be very good. If not improved, pretty damn close to it a little bit. So the Bears offense is still very much a top 10 unit in the league. They'll be rocking and rolling. But overall, did the Bears improve enough to win the division yet again? With a hard schedule, with a lot of offseason losses. Time will tell. To me, I don't think they win the division. I think they finish second. So what's their ceiling and what's their floor? Floor will go 8-9. Just like the Packers will put their floor at 8-9. Their ceiling, 12-5. I wish I could go 13-4 here, but the ceiling for the Bears in 2026 is 12-5. Given their schedule, given their losses, given the damn NFC North, their ceiling to me is 12-5. To me, I have the Chicago Bears finishing in second place in the North for the 2026-2027 NFL season. We move forward. Coming in at number 1, the team I believe will win the NFC North in 2026. Don't call it a comeback, but please do, because they finished last in the North last season. Give me the Detroit Lions to win the North in the 2026-2027 NFL season. Head coach Dan Campbell, new offensive coordinator Drew Petzing, defensive coordinator Calvin Shepard. I have the Lions winning the North in 2026. What do you think about that out there? If you're watching or listening, what are your thoughts initially, as I say that, before I dive into the Lions heading into 2026? What are your thoughts on Detroit heading into this season? Key offseason additions for the Lions. Offensive tackle Larry Borum, Cade Mays, Roger McCreary, DJ Wonham, and Isaiah Pacheco. Solid additions to this team for the offseason. Very, very solid. Nothing crazy. Cade Mays is probably my favorite of all of these. Nothing crazy, but solid. Very solid. Key losses for the Lions. David Montgomery was obviously the big one, traded to the Houston Texans. No more Sonic, no more Knuckles. It's a sad day. Pain. It's a sad, sad day. Week 1's going to be a little sad. We see Gibbs go out there, and then there's no more Montgomery right behind him. It'll be a little sad. Montgomery did some great things in Detroit. He'll be very much missed there. Very much missed. But then they bring in Pacheco to backfill. Not nearly that they're the same player, but that's how they backfilled. Offensive tackle Taylor Decker, he was released. Graham Glasgow, DJ Reader, Alex Anzalone, and Amik Robertson. So these are some big names the Lions lost. There's some big names, don't get me wrong. But this team very much excites me for what they're going to do heading into the season. And I'll give you more of an explanation here in just a few minutes. But those are their key additions. Those are their key losses. Anzalone's a big one. I believe he's on the Buccaneers now. Amik Robinson's also a big one. Glasgow, Decker, Montgomery. Like these are DJ Reader, not so much. But these are some big pieces that the Lions lost. They did. I do like how they backfilled. I do. Especially with Cade Mays, Borum. I like it. DJ Wonham. I do like what they brought in. The draft picks for the Detroit Lions. They go O-line in the first round. They go offensive tackle Blake Miller from Clemson. Then they go edge Derek Moore, which I really like that pick as well. They got Jimmy Rolder, Keith Abney, and wide receiver Kendrick Law. Not a complete franchise-shattering or shaking draft from the Lions. Not an offseason I could point at the Lions and say, that's one of the best offseasons in the NFL. No. I don't think so. No. But I do believe in what they did outside of purely just their players, right? Let's talk about their staff. They bring in offensive coordinator Drew Petzing, and Calvin Shepard returns as DC. Here's the biggest thing, though, and I talked about this a few weeks ago on this show. Dan Campbell, last season, took on too big of a responsibility, right? He was calling the plays on offense. He was doing too much. Too many hats he had to wear. Dan Campbell's at his best when he can operate purely as a head coach, not also as an OC, right? With also calling the plays and being the theoretical offensive coordinator. I mean, that's what they do. There's a lot more that goes into that than we even see, right? A lot more that goes into being the play caller than just, he calls the plays. The thought process, always having to be on literally and mentally during the game. There's a lot of things that go into calling plays as a head coach themselves. So when you remove the head coach from calling plays, as Dan Campbell should have done last season, put somebody else, fire your OC, who cares? Give somebody else a job. It was too many things going on for Dan Campbell. Too much responsibility. Wearing too many hats. Now in 2026, he can just be head coach. That's where Dan Campbell's at his best. When he can be just head coach, not offensive coordinator as well. Where he can be looking at everything, controlling the game better, controlling the flow, doing what head coaches are supposed to do, especially him, outside of calling plays on offense. So you bring in a guy like Drew Petzing. How will he fit immediately? I don't know. But I already love that Dan Campbell doesn't have to call the plays because he's at his best when he can focus on just being head coach. Some head coaches in this league thrive at calling plays. Obviously, you look at the 49ers, you look at the Packers, you look at the Rams. Those are the big ones. A lot of coaches do it. That's great. Dan Campbell himself, I think his skill set is not made to also be calling plays on top of being head coach of the Detroit Lions. You've seen when the Lions were at their best over the past half decade. Dan Campbell doesn't call the plays. He relies on his coordinators. That's what he gets to do in 2026. How effective will those coordinators be? Who entirely knows until the season begins. But Petzing just being there, him having that duty of calling the plays, relieves Dan Campbell of extra stress, gives him more time to focus on big picture stuff, including in-game management. I think that's huge. To me, one of the biggest impacts that's not being talked about enough of any team in the offseason. So that's a big reason why I believe in what Detroit has done this offseason. Alongside that, they came in last place in this division last year. If you go and look at the Lions' schedule, it is very favorable for 2026. I'm not getting back into the debate of, what's their strength of schedule based off 2025? Who cares? 2025 is in the past. I do not care about your record in 2025 anymore, especially now that the draft's over. Why would I say the Lions have an easy schedule based off what their 2025 opponents had placed, I should say, their results in 2025? I don't care about their opponents' results in 2025. I care about their outlook heading into 2026. And considering that, the Lions have a very favorable schedule. So Dan Campbell has more time on his hands to do what he does best. Doesn't have to call the plays. Alongside that, the Lions' schedule, all things considered, very favorable. Obviously, they're in the North, which is very tough. Outside of it, it's favorable. Hardest non-division games for the Lions in 2026. They're at the Bills. Very tough. And I believe that's week 2, if I'm not mistaken. And that is the Bills' first game in the new stadium. That's a tough one, I believe. They're at the Panthers, which is a tough game. Then they're at home against New England. That's probably a dub. But that's really it in terms of their tough games that are non-division games. Let's pull up the Detroit Lions schedule real quick and just kind of walk through it. So I'll go in order. They're at home versus the Saints. They're at Buffalo. Very tough game. They're in Detroit against the New York Jets. They're at Carolina. They're at Arizona. They're at home versus Green Bay. I'll just exclude the in-division games because you get it. They split at home and away. So those are their first 5. New Orleans, Buffalo, Jets, Panthers, Cardinals. I think the floor there is 3-2. You split Buffalo and Carolina, you're 4-1 to start the year. Obviously, you got the in-division games. Those will vary. And I will state this. I'm not giving you their exact record prediction because, as you know on this show, just like last season, my predictions for teams change every week in terms of how they will play and if they're going to win or lose. So I'm not going to tell you, they're going to definitely win this game in week 5 or they're going to definitely win this game in week 10. No. It's a week-by-week basis on this show because we predict every Thursday morning episode, we predict the winners and losers of every game during the season. So I'm not going to go out there and predict all these games right now in terms of literal record prediction. I will give you their floor and their ceiling, and we're walking through that right now. They're at Miami. They're versus New England in Detroit. They've got a 3-game stretch at home so if they're in Detroit for these 3 games during the season, weeks 10, 11, 12, Patriots, Buccaneers, Bears, all 3 at home. They've got Tennessee on the schedule. They're at Atlanta. They got the Giants on the schedule. Outside of division, their schedule's pretty, I don't want to say easy, but it's close to being said easy. I mean, you got the Cardinals on here. You got the Cardinals. You got the Dolphins. You got the Titans. You got the Giants on here. Alongside, how good would the Falcons be? How good would the Bucks be? Not teams I really much believe that much in, really, all things considered, heading into 2026. So the Lions very much have a favorable schedule. They do. My questions for the Lions. Number one, we already touched on it. How does Drew Petzing fit in year one as their new offensive coordinator? How will that be navigated? He's got some damn good weapons to work with. I can tell you that. I can tell you that very much. Obviously, you get Sam Laporta back this year. That's huge. You have a top 5 receiver in Amon-Ra. You got Jameson Williams. You still got Jahmyr Gibbs, the top 3 back in the NFL. You got Jared Goff. We know what he can do. Blake Miller out of Clemson, first-round pick. We'll see what he can do. You got Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson. The weapons are a plethora. And I know I just said Hutchinson in terms of when I was speaking of offense. The weapons are a plethora in Detroit. They're a very, very talented team. When healthy, I think this team will win the North for this coming season. How will Petzing fit in year one? He's got a lot of weapons to work with. How will he utilize them? Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go off this year, as he does every year. Number 2, how big is the David Montgomery loss? They traded him away to Houston. How big is that loss? Could it be more impactful than one may believe? Yeah, definitely. He was probably getting 12 to 15 carries a game last year? I'd have to go look up that number. It's probably ballpark around there, probably 15-ish, maybe a little less. I mean, it was a true 1-2 punch, a true Sonic and Knuckles in Detroit when you had David Montgomery in a Lions uniform. How will that impact them in 2026? Question number 3, is their secondary depth strong enough? You bring in a guy like Roger McCreary, okay, but Amik Robertson was one of your very good starting backs for several years in Detroit. Is their secondary depth good enough? That's a question we will see for the Detroit Lions. Okay. So what's their ceiling? What's their floor? I have their ceiling on my sheet at 12-5. I'm going to move it to 13-4. The Lions ceiling to me, 13-4. What's their floor? 10-7. So I have their floor being higher than what they finished at last year. The Lions finished 9-8 and in dead last in the North. 9-8, which is crazy. I have their floor being 10-7, so one game above that. I have their ceiling being 13-4. I think this is a revival year, if I can even say that, about a team that had a winning record last year, for the Detroit Lions. Very favorable schedule. I like their draft picks, and I like the fact that Dan Campbell gets to do what he does best. Be head coach and nothing else. Lead this team back to a North title. That's where I think the Detroit Lions are headed in 2026. I very much believe that. Detroit looking locked and loaded, and my God, do they remain talented heading into the 2026-2027 NFL season. And they need it, given how tough that North division is. Damn tough. The Lions come in at number 1. I think they come in first in the North for this upcoming season. All right, it's time to wrap up this episode with a little offseason ball check. Okay, you ready for this? Offseason ball knowledge check. Here we go. I want you to name where these players are now. I'm going to give you 5 players that found a new home in free agency or over the past few months. I'm going to give you 5 names, okay? I want you to name where they currently play. It's an offseason ball knowledge check. Are you ready for it? We'll start somewhat easy, and then the 5th one will be hard, okay? So this player found a new home for the 2026 season. You tell me where they are. Rico Dowdle. So formerly a Panther, Rico Dowdle. I'll give you 3 seconds I'll give you 3 to 5 seconds. Here's your time, but you're going to hear your shot clock, your timer here in a sec. On audio and on video for both. Rico Dowdle. Where did he end up? Go. It is indeed the Pittsburgh Steelers. Very nice. If you got it, very, very nice. Number 2. Romeo Doubs. Where is he now? It is indeed the New England Patriots. Okay, so not too hard off the bat. Rico Dowdle to the Steelers, Romeo Doubs to the Patriots. Very good. You probably got those. If you know your ball, you probably got those. Let's get a little bit tougher now. Jonathan Allen, defensive tackle. Where'd he go? It is indeed the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals bolstering up that defensive front. Got a lot of new additions over there in Cincinnati. Number 4, formerly Eagles wide receiver, Jahan Dotson. Where is he now? If you said the Atlanta Falcons, you are indeed correct. He signed a kind of a major-ish contract with the Atlanta Falcons. Definitely an overpay, respectfully. But Jahan Dotson finds himself in Atlanta. Coming in at number 5. This is the toughest one we got. Formerly of the Chicago Bears. Where is Devin Duvernay? Who does he play for now? Go. Did you get this one? Devin Duvernay is now on the Arizona Cardinals. Very nice. If you got all five, a little round of applause to you. Round of applause. We're going to be doing this every week now in the offseason. We got Dowdle, Steelers. Romeo Dobbs is on New England. Jonathan Allen finds himself in Cincinnati. Jahan Dotson is on the Falcons now as they lost Darnell Mooney. And Devin Duvernay is on the Cardinals. If you got 5 of 5, way to go. That's what I'm talking about. You know your offseason ball. Let's see if we can get yours next week as well. We'll have 5 more for you next week. Just a little offseason ball knowledge check to make sure that you're tapped in across the league. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you as always as I lead off with this show and close with this show. It really does mean a lot. Whether you watched all the way, listened just a little bit, whatever it was, and whenever you're watching or listening, thank you. Continuing to grow. The offseason grind does not stop. NFL only 24/7, 365. You know where you are. It's here at the Swank Tank. Can't wait for the season. We're inching closer and closer with each new episode. We will see you guys next week, Thursday morning as always. See you then. Have a good weekend.